Thanks for joining us, Mohammed. How are you doing
Yeah,
today?
man, I'm good, bro. How are
Good.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to have you on the Beyond the Cage podcast. So
Thank you.
let's get started with what what level of experience you have. What does MMA mean to you, and what's your background with combat sports?
Okay, so when it comes to combat sports, so I never really did mixed martial arts. I was mainly just a kickboxer that transitioned into boxing. I've been training and competing for since 2018 now.
Mm-hmm.
I've had about 21 amateur fights. I've won I was the 2023 Canadian kickboxing champion under
Okay.
my weight class. Um, and yeah, I honestly just participated in a lot of provincial tournaments, like the Quebec Open, the Ontario Provincial Kickboxing, Brampton Cup, just some of the more known tournaments in our region.
Mm-hmm.
I've competed all over Canada. I was in Yellowknife, got to see like the aurora lights and stuff. So I'm grateful for what my fighting career has been able to do for me,
That's
even
really
though it's
good.
not a professional one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. So what gym did you train at, or what gym do you currently train at?
So I started training at Bay Area Athletic Club in Burlington, Ontario. It's quite the distance from here, but it's mainly a kickboxing gym
Okay.
that kind of instills a lot of your classic like martial arts disciplines and just ways. So a lot of the stuff that I was taught when I first joined kind of resembled the stuff that they teach. They teach you when you, for example, I don't know if you've ever seen like a karate class or a taekwondo class, like those like essential like discipline ways and stuff like that. So those were instilled into us from an early stage, and that's what I liked about the whole kickboxing aspect.
Yeah.
You don't really get that a lot in boxing, like the whole martial arts way of things, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously you still get the discipline.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So you said with kickboxing they were able to instill like those fundamentals. Did you ever do like that Karate Kid take off the jacket and all that things?
No, I never I never did the take off the jacket, but we definitely did a lot of kicking. That's
Yeah?
for sure. A
That's
lot of
good, that's
kicking, all
good.
types of kicks.
Yeah.
Taekwondo kicks, snapping kicks that come
Those are
from
hard. Those go
karate.
like all the way up to the head, no?
Yeah, yeah. And hey man, it took a while to get flexible, but
Yeah?
we're here now.
Oh, I
you
can
know?
imagine. I can imagine. So, what was that moment, when you were younger that really got you into the gym, or, what was that like magnetic force that took you to the gym for MMA and kickboxing?
So honestly, I was kind of just I was a reckless youth. Let's just let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And at some point in my life, I started realizing like if I keep going down this path and just being in the wrong environments constantly, like my future is not looking too bright. So I actually I reached out to my brother-in-law at the time, who was boxing. He had been boxing for a few years, and he always, when he was around, he always talked about how it changed his life and how it gave him like a sense of direction and stuff. So, after like a major epiphany in my life that took place when I was young, I realized like, okay, let me reach out to this guy and see what he could tell me about that. And so, he recommended I start boxing, and he said that boxing is gonna give you that direction. It's gonna keep you in the gym, away from all the negativity, away from bad environments and things like that. So I feel like that's what mainly pushed me to actually start looking for a gym in my area. And I reached out to a couple gyms, and I chose Bay Area Athletic Club because the head coach had a very inspiring story. You can look up his story on the Bay Area Athletic Club website. So I felt like I was very gravitated towards that, and I ended up signing up there, and I'm still there.
Well, that's good to hear. And it's not a lot of people are blessed with people close in their lives, such as family, to guide them in the right direction. A lot of people have to look outside the house to find a sense of direction. But the fact that you're able to find that within your house and your own family, like, I'm sure that made things much easier for you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm grateful to just have somebody in, like, even though he's not like, he didn't live with me. Obviously, he, had his own place and stuff. But, when I would see him here and there, he would always talk about boxing. So that's, I'm grateful to have somebody like that in my vicinity, that was able to kind of push me towards the sport.
So before you started, training in kickboxing, what was that one aspect or characteristics of yours that you really wanted to change when you were dealing with a hard time in your life? What was that MMA was able to change in you?
That's a good question. I honestly would say the biggest thing it changed in me and that I wanted to change was probably just my consistency in general. Just whatever I do in life, I had a problem with kind of sticking to the stuff that I wanted to do. I would, I used to tell myself I'm like a journeyman. Like I do a bunch of different things, but I do them for like a limited amount of time, and I'm like, okay, on to the next thing. And I was kind of getting sick and tired of that, because that, I feel like, only leads you to become mediocre at whatever you're doing, And when I started boxing, I really liked it. Like, I really fell in love with the sport, and I told myself, like, this is not something I want to be mediocre at by any means, And this was even before I decided I wanted to compete. I just knew that this is something I wanted to excel in, and I think that's like one of the biggest things that it changed for me.
Yeah. That reminds me of the quote by Bruce Lee. He said, "Not to fear the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks once, but the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times."
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's so many different sayings and quotes that comes out of something that people see as so violent and gruesome.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's just there's just that stigma around it, and it's changing today. Obviously, because of how big MMA and boxing and stuff has been. So people are kind of, they're not as ignorant as they were before. People are kind of getting educated on the fact that, hey man, these fighters, they're not crazy like psychos that just want to punch people all the time and fight people. You know what I mean? So you kind of get to know fighters on a deeper level, and you realize, like, these are just normal people, but I mean, you kind of have to be a little crazy to do this sport, but for the most part, you're not just a violent person, and that's not always the case. Like, actually, I think fighters are some of the calmest people I've ever been around. I myself am not like a violent person. Like, even though I fight, I train, I'm in this sport, I don't go out seeking fights.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. You've never really caused any problems when we've been out, so that's good. I'm glad you've been holding on to that.
I'm glad. Yeah.
So, a lot of people talk about that sense of belonging that they get from training in MMA gyms or in combat sports. What was that sense of belonging that the Bay Area Athletic Club gave to you?
So, it honestly became like a second family. So, the competitive team, like, it was me and a bunch of guys and a few girls. We would train together every day, 6-7 times a week. We're traveling across the country together. We're on these buses together. We're blood, sweat, and tears together. So, like, you really build a camaraderie and a brotherhood with these people, and especially my coach as well. Like he's kind of like the tying bond. You know, he pushed us to get close together and stuff like that. So, and you know, even though it's a one man sport, like it's a very lonely sport, I'm so grateful to have been able to be at a gym where, you know, I trained with like-minded people that had the same goals that I could call like my family, you know? So it definitely gave me a sense of belonging in that sense. And it also gave me a sense of belonging in a way where like this is something that I, you know, at some point I just identified myself with. Like people ask me, what do you do? I'm like, yeah, I fight.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to have, you know, a hobby or a sport that you know, I can kind of identify with. So
That's good.
yeah.
And what about like, how has training in combat sports changed the way you deal with pressure, if it has?
It changed it 180 degrees, to be honest. You just learn to, so you just learn to handle pressure better. You know, the pressure never gets easier. You know, the nerves don't get easier. You just become more conditioned to face adversity better. You know, like you're more ready to face whatever's coming your way.
Right.
You know, and honestly, you know, times where in real life where I outside the gym where I realized these traits are being applied, like for example, like finals. You know, we have finals, we got submissions, we got all of this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm able to keep calm and just remember my goals, remember what I want to achieve, remember why I'm doing this, and that kind of just grounds me. And that's actually like the same mental technique I use before a fight. Whenever the fight nerves kick in, and you're thinking about your opponent, you know, you're thinking outward, not inward. You kind of just want to remind yourself why you're doing this, what your goals are. That's the most important one. What you want to achieve, and you know, how you want to finish it.
Yeah.
You know, so when you remind yourself of those things, you it levels you. You know, and it brings you back to what you want to accomplish.
Right. And so now that you've graduated and you're working full time and all these things, how has, you know, training in the sport helped you deal with working full time?
So when it comes to working, I think honestly it's just the routine aspect of it. It really just it gives you like a routine.
Yeah, because I'm sure
You know?
it's not easy, you know, waking up and going to work doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, when we're training with combat sports, it is a bit easier because there is some fun to it and there's, you know, that passion. You know, I want to wake up funny enough, I want to get punched in the face. You know, that type of thing. But you know, with work, it's more different. You know, you have to show up, and you know, sometimes people aren't as favored, and they have to work a job they don't like. And you know, some of us we do work jobs we like.
Yeah. So with work, like I work in a corporate environment. So I'm at my desk all day, you know, I'm super corporate with my coworkers and you know, very professional all the time, you know, professional in emails and stuff. So it's very relieving to be able to go back home and then go to a gym and just let loose, you know, hit the bag, you know, hit somebody, you know. So it definitely, like, I need it, you know. I don't know, maybe some people, you know, they do other things, and I respect that, you know, whatever it is you do, whatever sport people want to do. Like I think it's really good to have that, especially if you're working full time 9 to 5. Like you definitely need something to like break you out of that, you know, mundane like routine, just waking up, doing the same thing, you know, going to work, and you know, you need I think everybody needs a break from that corporate experience.
Yeah,
you know?
that's just true. And you know, for the people who don't really understand the sport, you know, if you had to, make them take away one thing from the sport, what would you say people need to learn to apply that they can get from combat sports?
So one thing my coach used to, I'm not going to say discipline. I'm not going to give you a generic answer. So
that's what we don't want.
Yeah, man. So one thing my coach used to always tell me, and, he told me this because I struggled my first few fights with, managing my control and anger and stuff like that. I would kind of just lose it in the ring and, lose focus of my goals and stuff. And, you fall apart when that happens, and that's how guys get knocked out. Grateful I never got knocked out. But so one thing he used to always tell me is that the boxing ring or kickboxing ring it's the truest mirror of yourself. So your truest, rawest form of yourself comes out when you're in the ring. Like whatever you tell yourself, whatever you want to believe that's not true, all of that shows in the ring. All the work you've been putting in, it shows in the ring. So I think this sport is great for somebody who wants to kind of figure out who they want to be. Not just in the sport, but in life. Mm-hmm. It really shows you what you're capable of, what your fears are, what are the turning points for you, when do you get nervous, when do you get afraid, and how you overcome those things, how you can, tell yourself that this is not going to faze me. I'm bigger than this. I'm bigger than my adversary or my adversity or whatever it may be, So I think for me, I would say that's a huge takeaway for this sport to people that aren't familiar with it.
Yeah, and I think honestly that's a really good point you made, and it's honestly inspiring. Like, we can see so many fighters who have been doing this for years and years, and they still show up. Like, people think it's easy, like with professional fighters who fight in the UFC, for example. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone knows they get paid. Mm-hmm. But, it really shows that, with these things, there's more disciplines that are making them motivate and show up every day. If people like you can show up and go to tournaments and compete, mm-hmm. and, there's no like big paychecks like the UFC, if you guys can show up and people who do get paychecks from the UFC, if they can show up, it really shows that there's really more to the sport than Definitely. What people are really talking about.
100%, man. Yeah. I agree. It just kind of takes somebody to kind of just take that deeper dive, Mm-hmm. And I get it, like from the outside looking in, it's intimidating, especially when you watch these fights and you watch these pro fighters like getting hurt and stuff like that. You go like, why would anyone want to do that?
Yeah.
But people have their reasons, and, one day somebody will have a reason. Mm-hmm. Life kind of just does its thing like that. You're gonna feel like one day you're like, okay, you know what? I think it's time for me to try something new or look into this. Mm-hmm. And that's when you'll find that.
So how did your folks at home take it when you started training, and when they saw you come home and you had bruises on your face?
Oh man, they hated it.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. My mom was not having it. I'll tell you that. Middle Eastern mom, man. She was like, what are you doing? So my mom has never watched any of my fights. I tried showing her my even the fights where I did really well and I won championships. She would not want to watch them.
Really?
Like she's like, they're hurting you. And I remember the first time I tried showing her a fight that I had won, she started crying halfway through the video. She goes like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that's it. I'm never showing you this again." So obviously she never showed up to any of my fights. So yeah, she didn't like the fact that I competed because she was worried that I got hurt, and it happens. I've broken a rib, I've broken my arm. So, and when I come home with those type of injuries, she really doesn't take it the best way. But that's mothers, right?
Yeah.
So
at the end of the day, when you go fight, do well, you still have to come home and she's gonna take care of her baby.
Exactly.
That's how it is.
Yeah, but other than that, honestly, man, I never told anyone when I had a fight.
Really?
Yeah. Even like my like maybe I tell one friend, but like it's not something I used to like talk about. Just because I don't know, I feel like that just put more pressure on myself. Like if I tell a lot of people I'm fighting, everyone's gonna be asking me, "Oh, how you feeling for this fight?" Da da da. So it's just kind of like a mental thing that I did to kind of look out for myself. I'm like, you know what? If nobody knows, if I get knocked out, I'm good. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So, but that was just mainly in the beginning. Once I, got to like my 10th fight, I started getting a little more comfortable. I'd tell my friends like, yeah, I'm fighting here, and they'd come out and support. But in the beginning, because I lost my first few fights actually, so I was like, you know what, that's that. Nobody's knowing about a fight, nothing. I'm gonna go on my own, train on my own, go to the fight on my own, win or lose on my own, come back on my own, and that's that.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense because, like, with other sports, like, team sports like basketball, football, or volleyball,
it's a huge turnout.
Exactly. Yeah. And with those sports, at least there's someone else to blame. It's a team sport.
Yeah.
When you're in the ring, when you're in the octagon, when you're on the mat, it's man versus man, woman versus woman. No one else is coming to save you. And if you succeed or if you fail, it's all on you.
Exactly.
So it comes with the love and it comes with the hate.
Exactly. And that's what I also mean by, it's the rawest mirror of yourself. Like you really get to know who you are in there. So, yeah.
That's good, man. Well, honestly, it was great having you on the show, and it was great to learn more a lot about you. Of course. Thank you, Mohammed.
for having me. Appreciate it.